There's a moment that comes for all of us, a moment when the very thing we thought made us strong suddenly disappears. When the identity we built, the confidence we wore like armor, the plans we worked so hard for collapse. It doesn't knock gently. It breaks, and it hurts. Maybe you've been there. Maybe you're there now. You've held everything together for so long. You've been the reliable one, the strong one. People leaned on you, and now you're standing in the wreckage, wondering what happened to the version of me who had it all figured out. Strength is not permanence, it's recovery. We often confuse strength with the absence of struggle. We think if someone is strong, they are unshakable, unbreakable, untouched by hardship. But that's not strength. That's a myth. Real strength is not about never falling. It's about who you become after you fall. It's about what you choose to do when the things you relied on collapse. Strength is not in the perfection of holding it all together. It's in the humility of rebuilding when everything falls apart. Life doesn't ask us to be invincible. It asks us to be honest, adaptable, and resilient. The strongest people you will ever meet are not the ones who walked an easy path. They're the ones who were cracked open by life and still found a way to show up. Not perfectly, but fully. Because strength is not about avoiding pain. It's about letting pain shape you without allowing it to define you. Think about this. A building isn't proven strong by standing in perfect weather. It's proven strong by surviving the storm. The same is true for people. Your true character doesn't emerge when life is calm and comfortable. It's revealed when everything is uncertain, when you're in emotional freefall, when nothing makes sense, and yet you take another step. You make another choice. You keep going. That's strength. Recovery is not glamorous. It's slow. It's messy. It's full of moments where you doubt yourself. You question everything. Your past, your future, your worth. But it's in those exact moments where the rebuilding begins. The process of healing and rising is never linear. Some days you move forward with confidence. Other days you crawl. Some days just breathing feels like an achievement. And that's okay. Because every small act of effort in the face of struggle, that's recovery. That's strength. When you've been broken, there's a temptation to believe you've lost your value. But let me offer you something different. Maybe being broken didn't take away your strength. Maybe it uncovered it. Maybe the pain didn't remove your worth. It reminded you to find it from within instead of outside sources. Recovery is where we learn this. In the quiet, in the setbacks, in the conversations we have with ourselves when no one is around. We learn that strength isn't some loud declaration of toughness. Sometimes it's the whisper that says, "I'm still here." Recovery teaches patience. It teaches self-respect. It teaches us how to sit with discomfort without running, how to trust the process even when we can't predict the outcome. It strips away the illusions and forces us to meet ourselves fully. And once we meet ourselves in that raw, broken place, we begin to grow in ways we never could have imagined before the pain. The most beautiful part is this. Every time you recover, you gain something unshakable. Wisdom, empathy, resilience. You begin to understand that life isn't about avoiding being hurt. It's about discovering who you are after the hurt. It's about using your story, even the broken chapters, as the foundation for your next step. Not despite the pain, but because of it. So if you feel like your strength is gone, if life has knocked the wind out of you, if everything you built feels like it's in pieces, don't panic. That's not the end of your story. That's the beginning of a new one. And you're not starting from scratch. You're starting from experience, from truth, from something deeper than before. Strength is not permanence. It's recovery. And recovery is proof that you are stronger than the things that tried to break you. When everything falls apart, clarity is born. It doesn't feel that way in the beginning. When your world starts crumbling, your first instinct is panic. You try to hold everything together, even as the pieces slip through your fingers. You feel lost, overwhelmed, maybe even ashamed. And yet, somewhere beneath all that noise, beyond the heartbreak, the confusion, the fear, something begins to emerge. Truth. Not the kind of truth you read about or hear from others, but the kind you feel in your bone, the kind that only reveals itself when everything familiar is stripped away. When things fall apart, it forces you to stop pretending. You no longer have the energy to uphold the versions of yourself that were created for other people. You stop performing, you stop chasing, you stop running. And in that space of stillness, in that uncomfortable silence, you see what's real. You see what mattered. And more importantly, you see what never did. There's a kind of clarity that only comes through chaos. It's not gentle. It doesn't ask for permission. It tears away the distractions, the lies you told yourself to feel safe, the routines you followed without questioning. It makes you confront everything. And in doing so, it offers you something priceless. Perspective. You begin to see your life not just as it was, but as it really is. Who you are, who you're not. What you want. What you've been tolerating. What you've been avoiding. That's the gift of falling apart. It holds up a mirror and asks you to look. We spend so much of our lives caught up in noise. Expectations, obligations, routines, fears, comparison. We say yes to things that drain us. We stay in situations that no longer serve us. We follow paths we never chose just to keep the peace. And over time, we lose connection with ourselves. But when life interrupts all of that, when it crashes through our plans and leaves us standing in the rubble, we're forced to ask better questions. Not how do I fix this, but what was I building in the first place? And was it ever really mine? Sometimes we need everything to fall apart so we can see what was holding us back. Loss can reveal how much we were attached to the wrong things. Pain can illuminate the parts of us we neglected for too long. Disruption can show us the difference between who we thought we were and who we truly are. In the wreckage, clarity isn't just born. It becomes unavoidable. You start to notice what you miss and what you don't. The people who show up and the ones who disappear. The habits that drain you and the ones that ground you. You realize how much of your identity was built on things that were never meant to last. A job title, a relationship, an image, a routine. And you begin to see the beauty in starting over. Not as a setback, but as a reset, a chance to rebuild with intention. The clarity doesn't promise comfort. It promises truth. And the truth, while sometimes painful, is freeing. It allows you to let go of what was never yours. It invites you to stop clinging and start choosing. It teaches you that your worth is not tied to stability and appearances, but to your willingness to see clearly and act courageously. So if everything is falling apart, don't rush to put it all back together. Take a breath, stand in the discomfort. Listen, because beneath the noise, something sacred is speaking. The clarity is not loud, but it is powerful. And when it arrives, it won't ask you to return to who you were. It will ask you to become who you were meant to be. Let it. You don't need motivation. You need a reason. Motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes, rising and falling with your energy, your mood, your circumstances. One day, you feel inspired and ready to take on the world. The next, you wake up tired, discouraged, and disconnected. You scroll through quotes, watch a video, maybe even listen to a podcast, hoping to feel that spark again. But the truth is, you can't build a life or a legacy on sparks. You need something deeper, something that lasts when inspiration fades. That something is your reason. Your reason is your anchor. It's what holds you in place when everything around you is shaking. It's not loud or dramatic. It's steady, quiet, unshakable. Your reason is the thing that keeps you going when progress feels slow, when success feels far, when no one's watching, and when nothing feels exciting. It's the deeper why behind every effort, every sacrifice, every early morning and every late night. Motivation asks, what do I feel like doing today? Reason asks, what must I do, no matter how I feel? The problem with relying on motivation is that it assumes action should feel good, that progress should always be exciting. But the truth is, some of the most important steps you'll ever take will feel uncomfortable, boring, exhausting. There will be days you don't feel like showing up. And if your actions depend on feelings, you'll give up the moment resistance appears. That's where your reason comes in. When you have a clear reason, a compelling purpose, you stop needing to feel motivated. You show up because it matters. You push forward because it's connected to something bigger than your mood, something bigger than your comfort. Your reason might be a vision you have for your future, a commitment you've made to your family, a promise you made to yourself that you refuse to break. Maybe it's the desire to become someone your younger self would be proud of, or the drive to prove to yourself that you're capable of more than your past. Whatever it is, that reason becomes your compass. It doesn't remove the difficulty, but it makes the struggle worth it. You start to understand that discipline isn't punishment, it's devotion to your reason. And resilience isn't just bouncing back, it's staying connected to your why, even when life tries to disconnect you from it. So if you're feeling unmotivated, don't chase a new source of hype. Pause. Go deeper. Ask yourself the hard questions. Why did I start? Who am I doing this for? What does it cost me if I stop now? What kind of life do I want to build? Who do I want to become? You might not find the answer immediately. That's okay. Clarity isn't always instant. Sometimes you have to sit with the discomfort long enough to hear what your soul has been trying to tell you all along. But once you find that reason, once you lock onto it, everything changes. The work doesn't get easier, but it gets more meaningful. You stop looking for shortcuts and start committing to the long game. You become more focused, more intentional, more grounded. People will ask you how you stay so disciplined, how you keep going, how you do it even when it's hard. They'll assume you're motivated, but you'll know the truth. You're not fueled by motivation. You're guided by purpose. You don't show up because you feel like it. You show up because you have a reason not to quit. And that reason, that deep, undeniable why, will carry you farther than motivation ever could. Rock bottom reveals your foundation. It's the place no one wants to go. Yet almost everyone ends up at some point in life. It's dark, quiet, and humbling. The dreams you built have crumbled. The plans you counted on have failed. And the people you thought would stay have left. At first, it feels like the end. You question your worth, your decisions, even your future. But in the stillness of rock bottom, something unexpected happens. The truth shows up. Not the filtered version of your life, but the raw, unpolished reality. And in that moment, you begin to see what you were truly built on. When you hit rock bottom, everything unnecessary is stripped away. You can't rely on titles, status, or surface-level validation. You're left with only what's real. Your values, your mindset, your inner belief. And that's when you find out whether your foundation was built on ego or purpose, fear or faith, approval or authenticity. Most people live their lives constructing identities on shaky ground, on things they can't control: money, relationships, attention, comfort. These things feel solid until life tests them. And when life does, it doesn't tap politely. It shakes you. It exposes the weak spots. It tears through anything that wasn't grounded in something real. That's what rock bottom does. It breaks the illusion so you can finally build something true. It's not about punishment. It's about discovery. You start to notice what you miss, and more importantly, what you don't. You start asking better questions. Who am I without the job? The relationship, the approval. What do I stand for? What really matters? You realize that so much of what you thought you needed was just noise. And in losing it, you gain clarity. There is a brutal honesty at rock bottom. You can't lie to yourself anymore. You see the compromises you made, the moments you ignored your gut, the times you settled when you should have stood tall. But instead of guilt, something else rises. Responsibility. You realize you can't go back, but you can choose what happens next. And that choice becomes the turning point. This is where your foundation begins to matter, because when there's nothing left to cling to, you fall back on what's within. Do you have resilience? Do you have discipline? Do you have belief in yourself? Even when there's no evidence,
things will get better. Those are the pieces of your foundations. They're only revealed when everything else has been stripped away. Some of the strongest people you'll ever meet didn't rise because of constant wins. They rose because of collapse. They were shattered, but not destroyed. They didn't just bounce back. They rebuilt. Wiser, quieter, stronger. And they used what they learned at rock bottom to create a new life. One built on truth, on integrity, on grit. You see, rock bottom doesn't mean you're finished. It means you've been given a clear view of the ground you'll rebuild. It gives you a choice: stay there, or rise with something real this time. Not for applause, not for comfort, but for yourself, for who you're meant to become. The next version of your life can't be built on the same old patterns. You need a foundation that can't be shaken by failure or fear. A foundation rooted in purpose, in values, in identity. That's what you find at rock bottom, the unbreakable core that was buried underneath the noise. So if you're there now, know this: you're not broken. You're being shown what you truly have to work with, and what you build from here won't just survive the next storm. It will stand because it was born in truth. Rock bottom doesn't end you, it reveals you. And what it reveals is the beginning of everything real. Endurance beats intensity. In a world that glorifies quick wins and explosive results, it's easy to believe that success belongs to the most intense, the loudest, the fastest, the boldest. We celebrate the overnight sensation, the viral breakthrough, the person who changed everything in 30 days. But when you take a closer look at the people who actually build something that lasts, whether it's a career, a relationship, a reputation, or a meaningful life, you'll find one common trait: endurance. Intensity can start a fire, but endurance keeps it burning. Intensity is exciting. It feels powerful in the moment. You make a dramatic commitment. You work 16-hour days for a week. You cut out everything, go all in, and push harder than anyone around you. For a while, it works. Results come quickly, motivation is high, and you feel unstoppable. But intensity without endurance is a sprint with no plan for the marathon. It eventually burns out. The excitement fades. Life gets in the way, and when the emotion disappears, so does the effort. Endurance, on the other hand, is quiet. It's not flashy. It doesn't always look impressive on the surface, but it shows up every day, especially when it's hard. Endurance isn't about pushing to your limit once. It's about staying in the game long enough to see real transformation. It's the person who trains every day, even when the gym is empty. The writer who works through writer's block. The business owner who keeps building through months of slow growth. The person who honors their commitment long after the mood they made it in has passed. That's what makes endurance powerful. It outlasts the hype. You don't have to be the most talented, the smartest, or the fastest. But if you keep showing up, if you keep doing the work, brick by brick, when no one's clapping, when progress feels invisible, you will separate yourself. Because most people chase intensity, and when it doesn't last, they stop. Endurance is what takes you where talent alone never will. And here's the truth: endurance doesn't mean you never struggle. It means you stay in the fight, even when you do. You allow rest, not quitting. You allow failure, not surrender. You understand that success is not built on what you do when you're at your best, but on what you do when you're tired, discouraged, and tempted to walk away. Endurance also builds something intensity can't: character. It develops patience, humility, and resilience. It forces you to do the work, even when the reward isn't instant. And that's where real strength is born. In the grind, in the repetition, in the unseen hours. Think about nature. The tallest trees didn't grow overnight. They endured storms, seasons, and setbacks. Their strength came from deep roots, not rapid growth. The same applies to you. Endurance allows you to grow something that's not only successful, but sustainable. So stop trying to shock the system with bursts of energy and expect lasting results. Commit to consistency. And show up for the next step, and the one after that. You won't always feel motivated. But endurance isn't emotional, it's intentional. It's a decision made daily to stay on the path, even if you move slowly. Over time, you'll look back and realize something powerful. The person you became through that quiet commitment is stronger than the person who started with all the fire but none of the fuel. Because in the end, the ones who win aren't the ones who started the fastest. They're the ones who refused to stop. Endurance beats intensity every time. Your comeback is built in the dark. We often imagine a comeback as a dramatic moment, a bold return, a standing ovation, a spotlight. We picture applause, recognition, and validation. But real comebacks don't begin there. They begin quietly, in the shadows. They begin when no one's watching, when the world has moved on, when the people who once believed in you have grown silent, and even you start to question whether you still believe in yourself. That's where the true work begins. The dark seasons of life are uncomfortable. They're lonely, confusing, and slow. They strip you of what you thought you needed: approval, structure, routine, confidence. And they force you to sit with the parts of yourself that success often allows you to ignore, the parts that are unsure, the parts that hurt, the parts that wonder if you're still capable of rising again. But that darkness, that space without answers, is fertile ground. It's where transformation happens. Not the kind that's for show, but the kind that lasts. Because in the dark, there are no shortcuts. No one is handing out applause or permission. It's just you and your decision. Will you stay down, or will you begin, quietly, to rebuild? Most people want the result of a comeback, but not the process. They want the power, without the pain. But a true comeback isn't built on momentum, it's built on discipline. The kind that shows up when there's nothing to prove, nothing to gain, and no external reward. Just a voice inside that says, "This isn't how it ends." And that voice is enough to get you moving, slowly, awkwardly, painfully. At first, progress feels invisible. You're working in silence, training with no audience, healing with no deadline. And that's exactly how it's supposed to be. Because what you're building in the dark isn't for show, it's for survival, it's for your soul, it's for their soul, it's for the version of you who doesn't just want to bounce back, but to come back better. In the dark, you learn to trust the process more than the applause. You learn to fall in love with effort again. You stop chasing quick wins and start building deep roots. You begin to understand that growth doesn't always feel good. Sometimes it feels like loss, confusion, or standing still. But every day you show up, even in the smallest ways, you're laying the bricks of your comeback. And when the light does return, when things finally start to shift, and opportunities reappear, you'll be ready. Not because you waited for perfect timing, but because you prepared in silence. You didn't waste the dark, you worked in it, you grew through it, you allowed it to shape you into someone who's not just ready to return, but ready to rise higher than before. You see, the dark isn't the end of your story. It's the part that no one reads out loud, but it's the most important chapter. It's where you decide who you are. It's where you separate ego from identity. It's where you become resilient, focused, and unshakable. That's the part that makes the comeback real. So, if you're in the dark now, don't rush to escape it. Don't chase the spotlight. Instead, slow down, listen, rebuild, train, reflect. Because everything you're doing now, the quiet effort, the unseen discipline, the private battles, is the foundation of your return. Your comeback doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't need to be fast. It just needs to be real. And the real ones, they're built in the dark.